Good morning. So I've been thinking the last little while, I've been on some of the online discussion boards and things about psoriatic arthritis. And I'm seeing a lot of questions that come up quite frequently. So I thought maybe it would be helpful for me to do a little bit of a series on some of these really common questions that come up. So the first question that I wanted to address that I see probably the most frequently is people who are asking, what were your initial symptoms? I think usually this is being asked by people who are wondering whether they might have psoriatic arthritis, to just kind of compare and decide whether they need to go see a rheumatologist. And I want to be clear, I am not a doctor, so I can only answer this from a patient perspective. As far as my initial symptoms, I started with scalp psoriasis. I didn't realize it was scalp psoriasis when I went to see a doctor, a dermatologist about it when I was 19. It was initially diagnosed as seborrheic dermatitis. So what it looked like was I had kind of flaky, thick patches right here in front of my ears, right behind my ears, kind of back here on my neck. And then occasionally it would kind of creep up from here along my hairline. It would be usually just kind of powdery, flaky through here, so I could just kind of brush it off. But back through here and behind my ears, it wasn't flaky. It was more like thick patches of skin, like almost, when you're a kid and you put glue on your skin and then you peel it off, it would be like that, only a little bit thicker. And because I'm the kind of person who can't leave things alone, I would kind of dig under there and pick at it, and then end up having to peel pieces of my skin out through, because it would grow around my hairs, and so out of my hair. It would never go away. It would usually get worse in the winter, or worse when I picked at it. I couldn't really make it go away completely. I always had at least some in through here. So for a long time, I thought that was seborrheic dermatitis. And then finally came across some information from another dermatologist who talked about how if you're peeling those off and you're bleeding a little bit, like pinprick bleeding, that's probably psoriasis. And I thought, oh, that's what I have. And then I asked my hairstylist the next time I went, do you think that's psoriasis? And she said, absolutely, I think that's psoriasis. But I was able to treat it with the topical steroid liquid that the dermatologist had prescribed me for seborrheic dermatitis. So I would just continue to get that, and I could make it calm down. Anyway, so for a long time, all through my 20s and 30s and early 40s, that dermatitis was my only symptom. Then I started to get nail ridges just in my thumbnails. The ones that you look up, if you look up like nail psoriasis or nail pitting online, you'll usually see really deep, almost like somebody's stuck a pin in somebody's fingernails and it's kind of gotten concave where those dots are. I was getting big lateral waves throughout my fingernails, but my thumbnails were affected the worst. So I was getting vertical ridges, like from the bottom to the top of the cuticle, or from the cuticle to the top of my nail. So those would go vertically, and then I was getting these horizontal dips. I thought they were probably related to thyroid because I had had Graves' disease, but they never went away, even when my Graves' disease was really treated. So I continued with those for about 10 years. And then I had hip bursitis twice within about 3 years, once in each hip, that was really resistant to physical therapy and wouldn't go away without a cortisone shot. And then finally, about 4 years ago, my hands started to swell, and I've posted pictures of that before on my account. So you can look there, and there are photos of my nail ridges as well. But once my hands started to swell up, I started thinking something's really not right, because they got really, really swollen, like to the point where it was difficult to move my fingers, both because of stiffness and once the stiffness wore off, just because they felt so fat. It was uncomfortable to move them. So that was my experience: the scalp psoriasis, the nail pitting, the bursitis, and then some swelling and stiffness. And once I got that far, it was time to see a rheumatologist, and I got started on the path to diagnosis, which I will talk about next time.